So one of the first minor characters I expanded was actually kind of a meh character. So Mistwatch, right? Mistwatch is a fort that doesn't respawn its bandit population. It's a fort where a certain bandit kidnaps people and ransoms them back into Skyrim. Now you can hear about this fort two ways. You can either approach it as a random traveller and talk to a guy that's lost, thinks his wife's been kidnapped, or you can meet a prisoner that's escaped out in the wilds that direct you to Mistwatch. This farmer you meet, he tells about his wife Viola, who he thinks has been kidnapped. Turns out his wife is actually running the joint, right? And you can decide to do two things. You can do the thing that you think is right and kill her since she's a bandit, or you can just go, meh, alright, let you go. And then she goes, I'll see you later for this, something like she'll see you later, as in she's meant to help you out. But that never happens. So that NPC becomes absolutely useless. She just stays in here forever and does absolutely nothing. And you've already seen her in this video. She's right there. So I made her a prisoner. Eventually she'll break out and she'll want revenge against people that locked her up for a year in her own prison, and she'll break out and we'll find a way to the Empire and join on to Centaurus' Legion. Now if you don't know, Centaurus is my main character. I like to call my main character. He's an alternate character in this save who's an Imperial soldier. He's another character I play as. This is Brianna. This is Sigun's sister. The quite feisty one, I like to think. She's like a hot-headed twin. So she's locked up in there. Normally she'll find a nice little spot to like chill out. She'll sit down. Yep, good. And yeah, so that's her. Now we're going to go meet some other characters that I've expanded. And as soon as we meet them, I'll tell you exactly what they do in Skyrim and kind of how they're wasted and what I do. And the next one is actually one of my favourite character expansions. And she's a vanilla NPC, just like Viola was. They're all vanilla. And her name is Angie.
Ah, you're back.
So Angie, if you don't know, if you've never seen her before, which hopefully you're a long time Skyrim player and you kind of know where she is, but she lives up in the Gerald Mountains. Bloodlet Throne, there she is. She lives a stone's throw from Cyrodiil. Now, if you've met Angie, she's the only character in the game that physically trains you in archery. Farkas is the only one you kind of like duel, I'm pretty sure, and she's the only one that gives you actual archery training. Now, when you meet her, she's very off guard. You know, she's very like, do anything and I'll gut you. And you're like, oh, I'm all good, I'm not here to hurt you. And then if you continue to train with her, do her course, she'll like you. She'll think you're a good person. Now, why is Angie hiding up there? And what use is she? She's not even a follower in the game. She's just a random NPC that you find out that she was quite young and the Imperial soldiers got drunk and killed and raped her family, blah, blah. I'm pretty sure they raped her. Right, so I've expanded her story as in she was a young girl. Her father was an Imperial soldier, not an Imperial soldier, he was an Imperial courier. And the way I fitted this story was that her father was a courier from Cyrodiil, an Imperial. It's kind of why I gave her darker skin, and green eyes, and sort of brown dark hair. So imagine this with me, right?
So what's the plan?
Her father was a courier, and he made a pit stop in Helgen at the inn before he had to go to Whiterun and deliver his message. But he met eyes of this beautiful Nord woman, and he just couldn't keep his eyes off her. And when he had to go, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He eventually returned, and voila, they had a family. You know? So when Angie was growing up, when she was 17, she was very beautiful, and she was harassed by these drunk Imperial soldiers that wanted to mess around with her. And they followed her home, and they grabbed her just outside of her door, and she screamed, and her father came out, and one of them put his sword through her father, killing her, and her brother and her mother came out, and one of them punched her mother to the floor, and the other and killed her father and her brother, and they took them inside and they molested both her and her mother. It's some dark shit, but it's the only way I can really see it. Now these soldiers were eventually arrested and sent off to Cyrodiil, right, to be
Next Imperial I see is dead.
dealt with. But she was an excellent archer. She'd go out with her father all the time and hunt. And she found out where they were going because she was pretty much on the bypass to the border of Cyrodiil, where she saw these soldiers, and she's got this perception where she can just aim things down and see it from range and calculate where to shoot it. And that's exactly what she did. She killed these three Imperial soldiers in the space of 5 seconds from like 200 meters back. She was just this dead point sniper with a bow, and she killed them and she fled. So why is she hiding up in a mountain? Well, in my game, she's not there. She's here. I mean, if you wanted to kill a couple of Imperial soldiers, you'd just go east. And that's exactly what, in my game, she does. She hears the roar of the bear of the east. She hears the call to arms for the Nords to fight against the Empire, to fight against the Thalmor. She hears Ulfric's roar, and she goes to Eastmarch, and she joins. This is before the war starts. So in my game, when I started the game, the war wasn't in full fruition. Ulfric Stormcloak a week had, just as soon as I started the game, a week before that, he had killed the High King and all diplomatic cards off the table. But the Empire knew they had to go to war. But she had joined when she was 17, and she's now like 24. And before the wartime, when the Stormcloaks eventually had kicked out the Imperials from, their territories, she'd sit on the border, and any sort of Imperial patrol that would check it out, she'd gun them down. She'd hide behind a tree or in a tree and just snipe them, just wipe them out. And she earned quite a favourable name, Arrow Seeker. Like she's like arrows just track their enemies. And she's earned herself quite a name. Now the reason why she hides up in this camp, for me, why I've expanded her story, is that she's up there after the war. Because a war hero to one faction is a war criminal to another. I mean, she earned a pretty penny, and a damn good name killing Imperial soldiers. Injured ones, wandering ones, solo couriers, even cohorts. When there was an army of troops marching down, she would sit in the distance with her arrow peached up into the sky and fire it, and that arrow would just land on its target, killing high-ranking Imperial officers. And after the war, she was targeted for death, high bounty, and blah blah. And eventually, maybe Centauros, my character, will go up this mountain cold and meet a woman, it's a bit off guard, not knowing who she really is. And that is the reason I believe that Angie is hiding up in a hut on the Gerald Mountains. Not because she killed a couple of Imperial soldiers that killed her family. Because she was a war hero, an absolute destructive enemy to the Empire that killed many high-ranking Imperials. And probably no doubt killed many injured. So this is how I expanded Angie. Now there's a couple more, of course, and we're going to get into those. Hopefully you're still around, because I hope this is for the people that really want to expand their story. And it's not just the major characters or the player. They really make the story of Skyrim beautiful. You need to fill the little things in. And these are the little things. They make the story greater. So let's go and meet another one. He's a real asshole to anyone that plays an Alpha or an Imperial and find themselves in Riften in the inn. Volwolf. Now, I play an Imperial character, and for the last 11 years whenever coming across this asshole, he goes, "You're an Imperial bastard." Or it'll call you like, "What do you want, elf?" He's a real asshole. Now, if you found out his backstory, he had a daughter who was a Stormcloak sage, meaning she just healed people. And she was killed by the Imperial soldiers and left to rot. And in my game, when his son was to marry the Imperial cousin of the Emperor, the assassin, my assassin's character, ended up killing them both to make it kind of look like a civil war plot. And he ended up killing his son. Now, I had no idea, but he's actually got a second son. And his second son, even though they share the same name, I'm pretty sure, is a housecarl to the Stormcloak Jarl of Riften. I had no idea. I've never seen them interact with each other. But so, his first daughter's killed by Imperials. His second, his son is killed by an Imperial scheme, so he believes. And eventually, when the Empire takes over Riften for one of these times, the Thalmor is sent in to clear out any Talos signs of worship, and they find a priestess. And while he's feeding his face and getting absolutely pissed, rotten drunk, these Thalmor take his wife, walk out of Riften, and she's never seen again. She's executed. And this is where he breaks. This is where he goes, "I've had enough." And he heads north to Windhelm. And he joins the Bearclaw Raiders. So, from just being a drunken dickhead, layabout lout, he's now on a path of revenge and glory. As in, his whole entire idea is he's going to die fighting Imperials. He's going to die fighting elves. He doesn't have that game plan. He has that old Viking warrior seeking Valhalla, because he's lost everything. Pretty much, his only son's in exile with their Jarl. I think they're actually back in power at the moment, so they're actually in Riften. But he's lost his wife, his son, and his daughter, and he's got one son left, but he's lost it. His other son can look after himself. He's going to go and fight, to avenge his daughter, his son, and now his wife. And so he's now got a purpose, apart from being an absolute dickhead, sits in an inn all day, and drinks. He'll fight until he dies, and then he'll be buried and remembered. Let's find the last two. I can only find one of them. But they're kind of very important characters, and they had a lot of potential in the game, but Bethesda kind of threw that away. So, my save is actually 6 months old, and if you've been on my channel for more than 6 months to see my shit, my very first video on my save was the beginning of the war. And that was playing as Tova Doomsung, who's an older character in her like 60s, and she was leading her granddaughters, Sigund and Brianna, at the time called Lagatha, into the Thalmor Keep and killing them. Because the way I wanted to start the story is I wanted to start that the Greymane wife of the blacksmith, she was once a mercenary friend of Tova's, who's my ex-mercenary, now Stormcloak commander character. And she, heard news that her friend needed help, and she helped a friend out. And this was the Greymane quest to retrieve her son, Thorold. So I did that quest, but I wanted to expand a lot more. As in, instead of her just being some Greymane merchant, she was once a warrior before she married a Greymane and became a Greymane. Before she had children, and Tova was once her friend. Now, eventually, I played the story that you rescue Thorold. Now, pretty much, Bethesda dropped the ball in this one, because if you actually fight for the Stormcloaks in the game, and you win, these guys don't turn up. They disappear, they're gone. Even if you have won the Civil War, they tend to go fight for the Stormcloaks, even though it's a lost cause. So what I've decided to do is expand their characters. Once Tova, Brianna and Sigund rescued them, they joined up to their brigade, to their raider corps, the group of raiders. And this is here right now. They can die, they can, but they'll most likely return maybe months after the war, and their crimes will be somewhat forgiven because they're no longer fighting the Empire, and the Empire will excuse them. But these guys don't show up. Like, it just blows my mind that if you have a Stormcloak victory in Skyrim, they won't return to their household now the war's done. So now, they're now NPCs. They're now in the game. And these two, like I said, were rescued by the Bearclaw Raiders, and they eventually joined. And they've got this, they got the Starforge... Starforge? No, it's not Starforge. That's the wrong guy. That's Knights of the Republic 2. They've got this Skyforge steel, right, from their father, which makes it a lot more immersive. And he's currently smashing Sigund. He's getting a bit of a tap off her. And these two, I think this is all my Stormcloak characters, all the ones that I've expanded upon. There's a couple more, but these are ones that are Imperial, and these are kind of how I kind of add these little NPCs, and I expand their stories, and I make them part of the other character stories, which these little things really make sense to me, make their little insignificant shit stories actually something that matters. And I'm going to show you one that's rather personal, which is kind of sad, but that's just kind of the way the story goes. We're going to go meet him. So the Bearclaw Raiders, right? They're all close personal associates. They're like family. They know each other. The Empire has a lot of random elite soldiers that are put into Centaurus and Marilia's group. Marilia's my second Civil War character for the Empire. They get a lot of soldiers that come through, and that are elite special or advanced troops of certain other legions or whatever, and they're sent to the 99th cohort to fight with the 99th cohort. That's the way the Empire works. They can funnel troops from their legions and put them into certain things. Stormcloaks don't have that sort of resource. So a lot of those troops are personal friends, people they've saved, people they've helped, people that they knew. And a lot of the officers in the Bearclaw, a lot of like the advanced, like the CEOs, are once friends of Tova. There were mercenaries that fought beside her, that were in her war bands and stuff like that. The Legion's a little bit different though. And it's like I said, even some of my made NPCs have stories I wanted to take them. So we're going to meet an orc. Now, you find this orc. He's an older orc, and he said he fought for the Legion when he was younger, and he went back to the tribe that he left, and his brother accepted him with open arms. Right? And I expand his story as in, yeah, he had this freeing nature to go and join the Civil War, and go join the Legion. He did, but he kind of wanted to go back home, and he did that. And his brother opened him back with open arms, and he felt good, but there was still something like he ran away from something that was really important to him. And when the Imperial soldiers came to the thing, he jumped back in place to go back to war, to join back to the Legion, to serve again, because there was something that, even though he left and went back home, he still felt like, it's a bit like a soldier, right, that goes off, like that was in the Iraqi war, and he done some horrible shit or whatever, and he decided to leave and come back home and spend time with his family. Like, he stopped deployment, and then another war kicks off, and he's right... Oh, they're Imperials. If they see me, they're going to attack me. another war starts up and he joins again. And this is pretty much this fella. And he's actually right here. Gorbash the Iron Hand. Now this is him. He was, you know, he was a vanilla NPC, but he died in the battlefield in Riften when the Empire took Riften over. The very events that got Skolvard's wife killed, he died at the gate. Now, this to me it's special because he was an existing NPC that was once a legionnaire, went back home, and then another war started up, and he felt the urge again to serve the Empire, to be free again. Not free again, but to kind of go back to where it was what made him him. And he died in the service of the Empire. To me it's like, wow. Now speaking of NPCs that aren't vanilla ones, I created one. He was the first one to die actually. This guy. I made him an Imperial Mage, right? He was going to be a destruction mage that killed plenty of people in the war. And if he was to survive the war, he would have become a Priest of Kine, becoming a healer, becoming a passive. It's no longer would he use his magic to kill people, but heal people. But, you know, the story took its own path, and he died in the Battle of Whiterun. There's other characters like I want to discuss, like the Battleborn that wears the Imperial armor and Whiterun. He's now he's an Imperial captain because of his name and station inside the 99th cohort. And the Red Guard mercenary, the one that his wife keeps threatening to leave him if he heads back out into the field, but his wife lets him go because it's a contract with the Empire. As in, it's really good money, it's guaranteed money, and he's not just on his own going into a cave retrieving someone's useless heirloom. He's actually got soldiers there that he's still an Imperial soldier, but he's a contracted Imperial soldier as he's joined up as a mercenary. He still wears the armor, he still follows the orders, but he's under a contract for a certain amount of years. So are the other Imperial soldiers, but they've joined up willingly. He has contracted himself towards the Empire. And so he goes off and fights for the 99th cohort, which is stationed, their main base is stationed in Whiterun. He can still go see his daughter and his wife when he's got leave. But they're also characters. There's also one more Stormlord character that I do want to get to, that I want to join the cohort, join the Bearclaw Raiders, and that will be the Whiterun guard that was meant to be the guard for Stormcloaks, the guard captain. He'll also join. Now, there's one more character I want to show you. I haven't taken actual place of her yet, so she might look a bit ugly. She's like edited long ago. She might look a bit gruesome, but, now, emphasis on the but, her character will be quite rich. And she's actually the niece of this guy. She is also an orc inside of a tribe. Steelheart. Let's go and visit her. I have pretty much expanded a lot of this orcs family's backgrounds. As in to her uncle rejoining the Legion, you know, and to her sister that was an exile. Her sister will take a different route. Now if you don't know, Borshka, or whatever the hell her name is, has a sister that left. It was her half-sister to the blacksmith daughter, the blacksmith wife. Now orcs have multiple wives. They have like their pretty wife, the one they like to fucking root and toot. They have a warrior wife, the head of the guard, or the protection, and they have a blacksmith wife. So they normally have three wives. One they like to smash a lot, one that's a blacksmith, and one that's a warrior. Well, so they can have multiple wives. Now, the guy that died, Steelhand, that's actually her uncle, funny enough, because I think these orc chiefs are actually brothers. If it's not her uncle, I'm pretty sure it's her uncle. I saw in the relationships that they're actually related somehow, but they are from different tribes. I think these two orc chiefs were actually brothers to him. Could be wrong, but so we're going to explore Steelheart right here, what she's going to do. It's not going to be related to the Civil War at all. It will be eventually, but both her and her sister will actually be part of the Dragonborn story. Characters of Skyrim that hear the Dragonborn call, people she's actually helped somewhat, or people that seek her out. So we're going to go meet Steelheart, and then we're going to go meet her sister.
Alright, so this one I don't have a complete plan for, but here she is. Borkin or Borka. Man, it took me an hour to make her outfit, because when I first saw her for this video, she looked fucking fugly. But she was like 2 years outdated from like really old work, where everyone had makeup for some reason. And so I decided to give her own body and her own armour, because I wanted her to somewhat be unique. And yeah, it took me out. That shit knocked me out, dude. So, pretty much, this is it. So, like, her story, I haven't really fully designed it yet to make much sense of it, but I kind of, you know, she's very much like her uncle, like the dead one we saw. She's, you know, she just fights a dummy, and you can either pay her off to follow you, or you can convince her to follow you. She mentions that she can, you know, the only way orcs can really leave is if they join the Legion. And that's kind of how I did it last time. I have her join the Legion. But if I have her join the Legion, that means she's completely stuck in it until the end of the war. Maybe during peace times, she might, like, you know, leave or aid the Dragonborn, but I'm not 100% sure on what I can do with that, because what I want her for her own story is I'll actually play as her, and she'll be sent to this orc stronghold down here somewhere. I don't even remember the hell it is. I thought it was over here somewhere. Shit is it? Yeah, there's an old village around here somewhere. So, and it's got a curse on it where, you know, it's just having a real rough time, getting attacked by giants. Malakath has written the place off pretty much. And she'll be sent there to find a marriage prospect. She'll be eventually find that the guy's got no wives, I think, and he's an absolute dickhead. And then she's charged by Malakath herself to fulfill this order, and she does. And she earns the hammer, Volendrub, or whatever it's called. She earns the hammer, and that's how she becomes like the champion of her own god. And eventually, she'll be set up to marry the new young replacement, the chief. And that's kind of what she'll do. She'll go from being this young orc that fights a dummy to eventually becoming the champion of Malakath and the new wife, or warrior wife, to the new chief of that village. And that's what kind of I set up perfect. Now she's going to call me an absolute arsehole or something.
You need my strength again. I'll be home.
Will you? Will you though?
This stronghold is for the orcs. Leave now.
Okay. Alright, so the next one's actually her sister. This one was a little fun one. It's not super like complex like hers is, because I can't figure that one out just yet. But this is another little character. I've actually made a mod on her. Publicly.
Hello, friend.
And here is her sister. Lashgradashkim. However you pronounce all that shit. So, this is actually a public follow on the Nexus. Because in the game, pretty much she is useless. She is an orc that talks mad shit to this dude over here that gives a shit. He says like she's a woman or something, and she threatens to cave his head in the fucking mines. So I turned her into an actual follower. So once you help out these guys, once you help the Breton with the Silverblood mercenary problem, she'll actually like you. She'll even give you bloodkin like rights, which is kind of weird since she's an exiled orc. And what I did, I made her like a follower, so she thought the person that came in and helped the group out was actually a worthy companion. They were like proper bloodkin to her. You know, they went out of their ways to help. And so Lash follows them. Whenever that person needs help, she'll always return back home to go mining. But at the same time, she's an orc warrior. So she'll pick up old weapons and head out with whoever this is. And that's what the Dragonborn done, because I played this as Ragni when she was first at exploring on her own. She was with another person that was looking for Freya. Her name was Octavia. I think you've seen her in a couple of my videos. No, you will. I'll mention them by name. And Octavia and Ragni ended up fighting with these mercenaries, earning the favour of Lash. And when Ragni becomes the Dragonborn, and she learns that this is the Dragonborn, she will put down her pickaxe and pick up her war axe. And yeah, that's kind of what I've got for story for her. All these small little vanilla characters have importance to the game. And expanding their stories makes my character's stories and Skyrim's story a lot richer. I'm trying to kill me, which is good. So that's the ones I can think of right now. All the characters that I mentioned or showed off are the ones that I can remember, characters of the vanilla game that I've expanded to make their stories a lot more greater, that Bethesda either didn't continue or completely flopped hard on, or just characters that I found absolutely useful. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to see when it comes to my story or my game. You know, if something intrigues you, write it down in the comments, because that's kind of what I'm showing this off for those that are into the role-play story perspective of making their game grander, more like a novel, instead of just a playthrough. You play for 10 hours and switch a character. So let me know in the comments, alright? And my mic's too far away from my face. Anyway, thanks for watching. Look after yourselves.